Joining me now from Edmonton is Alberta's Finance Minister, Ceci. Mr. Ceci, thanks for taking the time.
I'm happy to be here, Martin.
Let's start with those comments from yesterday. I mean, obviously, you're showing a lot of frustration when you said that the economic update shows that Ottawa's in a different planet from Alberta. What are you trying to get at? What was behind that comment?
Yeah, they just don't get the economic situation, the dire consequences of the differential that is, frankly, is giving away barrels of oil by pennies on the dollar here. So they're not on the same economic planet, because if they were, they would address that fulsomely with crude by rail, with greater support around TMX. Getting pipelines to Tidewater and getting access for oil out of this province is critical, not only for Albertans and Alberta and companies here, but all of Canada.
Okay, let's get to one of those measures you mentioned. Premier Motley was speaking this morning to the Oil Drillers Association, and she raised this again. It was put to the Finance Minister, and that is this crude by rail. We understand your government, and Premier Motley was talking about going it alone if necessary and buying a fleet of new rail cars to transport oil by rail, and that your province would even be ready to go it alone if you had to. Are you ready to go ahead with that, and what difference would that make?
The difference would be 140,000 barrels a day getting to a higher price. The differential would be lowered as a result of that, and we would get greater royalties. Companies would start to make a profit again, and Albertans wouldn't be held hostage by the fact that there's no egress for oil outside of this province. We saw, sorry.
Is there capacity, though? I mean, because one of the things is that you can buy the cars. Is there capacity in the rail system? And are you talking going to the BC coast? You're talking about going south to the States?
Well, all of those things would be worked out. We want to get to a better price point for the oil. We would be shipping by rail 140,000 barrels a day. And of course, grain is critically important too. So there'd be a prioritization after grain of rail, I believe. These are things that the federal government can help with, and we have put an ask before them. But frankly, the situation is so dire, we need to do something quickly. We just can't wait, and that's why we're putting all these things in front of the federal government, saying, help us. Otherwise, it seems like they're non-responsive. We know they bought a TMX. We know that's a great thing, but it is mired in still trying to get approvals.
This morning in Toronto, Finance Minister Bill Morneau was asked specifically about the rail cars and whether the feds would be ready to put some money forth. In Calgary, the Prime Minister was asked about the rail cars. Neither of them had an answer, so I'm assuming you haven't had an answer yet either.
No, I haven't had a direct answer from either of those individuals. Our Premier will be going down to Ottawa next week in Toronto. She will be talking about the differential in every forum she has. She is, we need to buy new rail cars to ship this crude. This crude can't stay in this province. I mean, it's hurting the whole economy of Canada.
Okay, I want to.
A day.
I want to bring up another issue, and as you know, your Premier Notley, has named a three-person panel to look into it, and that is the issue that was brought up a week ago, and that was one of your major energy leaders has proposed production quota. In other words, capping or reducing the amount that's being produced in Alberta, because he said that it's basically you're even hurting yourselves by overproducing. Is that in the cards? Are you considering a production quota for Alberta oil?
Nothing is off the table. That's why we got the energy envoys who are going to be reaching out to the leaders of the business community, the oil and gas sector, and they're going to be sitting down with them and saying, look, we didn't create this. We're being held hostage as a result of not having access out of this province. What do we do as leaders in this province, as companies in this province and the government, to make sure we make the best of this horribly bad situation that we're all dealing with right now?
We've been told also, though, that the majority of the industry is against a production cap, and that is more just one or two renegade companies that are proposing this, and the majority of them are against it.
Right. None of this is going to be simple or easy, Martin. It was decades ago that Premier Lougheed did the same thing, where they looked at ramping down production. We have taken nothing off the table. We're going to look at every lever. The energy envoys are going to report quickly back to the Premier about what the industry can do to help us get away from this hostage situation we're in. And we need the federal government to be a good partner in all of this. And the accelerated capital cost allowance is not the solution here. It's not quick enough. We need quicker solutions, and we need the feds to be part of it.
That's what I was going to ask you last question. Is there really a quick solution when you consider Trans Mountain? I mean, by any description, those two consultation processes are going to be months you know, it's not going to happen until the spring. Is there any quick solution for what you're going through?
Yes, crude by rail, the federal government needs to step up so that we can get world prices for oil, as opposed to shipping billions of dollars down into the pockets of American billionaires who want to buy jets and limousines with the money that rightly should stay in this province for health care, for hospitals, and for roads and schools.
Okay, Joe Ceci, thank you very much for speaking with us, and we will watch this issue, and we'll keep in contact.